Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC, and today's piece, I have given you some sneak peeks of this in the past. This is a bit of a collaboration with Shadow Foam, which is where we are today. It's just a stone's throw away from the Kingdom of the Moorlands, and it just made perfect sense to come out and visit the guys. And plus, from the opposite end of Europe, from Turkey, from Suprobox, they sent me the War Chest. Now I know you've seen this before. So this is the beast that we're going to kit out today here at Shadow Foam. They're going to lend me their experience on how to do this. Now I might do this as a two-parter, so we'll have a look at what we can do today, but then I think I'm going to take it home with what I've learned here so that I can finish off certain parts. So this should be really, really enjoyable, but we'll take this in now so that we can meet the team. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what, mate?
Yes, nice to meet you. So,
that is the War Chest.
This is the War Chest from Supro.
Wow, it's a beast.
It is a beast, and it's a bit of a tricky layout on the inside.
Yeah, let's have a look.
I thought this would be the one to really test you guys.
It looks like a big old Lego brick, doesn't it? It looks proper solid.
Yeah, it does. This is the type of thing that you really could throw out the back of a helicopter. We've got these nice trays on the inside that I'm going to use to keep my bits and bobs in, but really this is the War Chest. This is where I'm going to put my rifle.
Right, wow, okay. It's a complicated, I can see why you want a bit of help making an insert for this, because it is quite a on first look, it's quite complicated.
Yeah.
With all the different profiles around the edge and everything, but...
And yeah, on the corners.
Yeah, right, okay, well I think we get it up on the bench and have a closer look at it.
Yep.
So what are we putting in it?
At this point, we're going to be putting in my airsoft rifle. Now, I know a lot of the fans of my channel will know that I'm not, strictly speaking, an airsoft channel, but I think if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I quite enjoy it. But I think for this chest, it being the Moorlander War Chest, it has to be my airsoft rifle in here. But hopefully the things that I'll pick up, the little tips and tricks I'll pick up from you today, I do have a few other things in mind with a few other things that I've got lined up that I'll be able to show you the versatility, or I suppose show you guys the versatility of just what you can do with Shadow Foam. So today we're going to be putting this rifle in here, but in the future we're going to be building on extra things to really kind of show this stuff off.
Yeah, brilliant, yeah. And the thing is, I mean, this case is pretty massive, isn't it? It's a big old cavity, so, you know, it kind of lends itself to that airsoft, meaty kind of object. But, you know, a smaller version of this would be perfect for all EDC equipment, wouldn't it?
Yeah, even camera equipment, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was to kit this out with knives and watches and stuff, I could probably fit a lot in here. But yeah, it seems perfect for this.
It's a heavy old thing, isn't it?
So they're built when they're designed by CZ, which is a Czech company.
Right.
And they take the real rifle and then they ship it to, and I want to say it's Denmark, and so apologies if I get it wrong.
Not loaded, is it? Because I've been pointing at you.
No.
It's like the first rule of guns: don't point it at someone. And I just picked that up and had it pointed at you the whole time.
That's it. It's all about trigger discipline.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty much based on the real thing, using all components and parts from the real thing, and then they strip it and put the electric parts inside.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Right. So all we have to do now is figure out how we're going to get foam into this case, because it is quite a complicated... I'll let you look after that.
Thank you.
It is quite a complicated shape. We've got a lot of bumps and ridges in the bottom here, and then we've obviously got the profile of this kind of like fluted siding, and then the wheels as well. So I did allude to two methods for making an insert for something complicated like this earlier.
Yeah.
And the first one is using salt, which sounds a bit odd, but essentially what we're trying to do is have a contrasting colour. Take this, you know, desert cream colour, this like, what would you call this? Mustard?
Yeah.
Desert mustard or something. What's it called? Yeah, it's called desert mustard. So to take this desert mustard colour and to give it a contrast, and take what is like a 3D base and turn it into a 2D profile,
Yeah.
we can just fill it with salt and then give it a shake, flatten it all out, and we'll get a profile in that we can take a photo of and either print it for a template, or we can literally digitize it and put it on the CNC.
Yeah.
But it's not very accessible for most people, and that's kind of what we aim to do with Shadow Foam. Shadow Foam is built on accessibility. It's made for, you know, someone to just get a bit of Shadow Foam, get one of our cutting kits or a knife, and anyone can make an insert. So with that in mind, we're going to make a template for this using good old-fashioned paper and tape. So all we have to do is just basically, we're putting paper right up to the edge, and you can see straight away that gives us the width.
Yep.
You know, and we'll take those together, and essentially we just keep adding paper until we've got the full, you know, width and height filled in, and then we can start cutting in small profiles that go in all the little gaps, and we can capture all the detail. And what we should end up with is quite an accurate paper template that we can then use to make probably, I'd say, 2 inserts for this. And it's a technique that anyone can use, you know. We've got a bit of scrap paper here that's kind of all a bit bent so it won't go through the printer. So even that means we're not wasting perfectly good printer paper. It is a bit tricky because they're static, but you end up with layers and layers of this stuff to try and get it right.
And I suppose as well, it doesn't, I mean, whatever paper you've got lying around, whether it's old
newspaper.
Newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. Anything you've got, just to as long as you've got a bit of patience and you can just take your time going around. And the best thing is you can always trim the Shadow Foam a little bit afterwards, but this will give us pretty close template to work from. This is a complicated shape though, so it's going to take longer than normal, but put that in there. Right, so I think that just about finishes it up, and you've got that last corner there.
Yeah, sorted.
Oh, smashing. So that is about, that took about 20 minutes, I reckon, didn't it?
Probably about that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's quite a big process to do the paper templating. It's not something I'd want to do. If I had a lot of these cases, I'd probably be going down, it'd probably be more beneficial to learn how to use the salt technique and do the digital layouts. However, but if you're just doing one of these cases, and you know, everyone's got a bit of paper around the house, newspaper, or even if it's just some like plain white paper we've used here, you don't need much. A little bit of time, a little bit of patience, and we've now got what is a complete paper template of that insert. So we can lay that on a piece of foam now, and when we cut around it, what we'll be doing is, where we've got like a hard corner here, we'll be rounding that out with a radius, and we'll probably be cutting it a little bit wider than the actual case. Now there's no 90-degree corners on this at all. I mean, this is how they mold these cases. They never have a 90-degree because it doesn't release from the mold very well. So they're always rounded. So wherever we've got a hard corner, we'll round that out with the scalpel on the foam, and we will cut it a little bit too big because the foam's quite forgiving. It'll squish into the corners. And then we'll also be cutting a radius on the back edge, which will again make that edge even weaker, so it's more likely to squish in. So I think that, it looks like a bit of body armour, doesn't it, actually?
Yeah, it's a pretty good piece of arts and crafts.
Yeah, that is. I wish I had one that I made earlier, to be honest, because that was a lot of time, but
Yeah,
that's the most difficult part of this job. So what colour are you thinking now? That's the next thing.
I was originally thinking black on black.
Let's get, I'll grab the 7 colour options, we'll put them on here and then you can make a decision.
Yeah.
So we'll put that out of the way and I'll grab some foam options. Right, so we've got 7 colours in total and I've just gone and grabbed some of these are like for Festool Sustainer mini inserts.
Yeah.
And obviously you can have the black face up with the colour underneath, or I'll put them colour out, which I'll put a couple over there.
Yeah.
Put the red, will the red fit in? Need a little bit of squishing. And then we have got teal as well, so I don't have a mini sustainer in teal, but that's a newer colour teal.
I think I quite like that teal. I like the other, I think some of these are a little bit too bright, but I think with this being that kind of
like a darker tone,
mustardy colour, I think with the teal, with the black on top, so that you can see the depth when you're cutting into it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely go for a colour rather than the black.
Yeah.
But I think the teal will look good with this mustardy colour. Yeah, definitely. So we're going to go for that then?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the last thing, there's always a last thing, is what depth are we doing? Because we'll go and get some standard sheets now. We can get a standard medium sheet, which is 1000 by 500.
Yeah.
Will be big enough for this. We can cut it down with the template. But we've got the rifle there, haven't we? And then you're going to be cutting in some other items.
Yeah.
So I think maybe I would recommend we go for a 50mm base layer, which will then go around these wheels, and then we can put a 30mm layer on the top, which will cover up the wheels, and then it'll allow you can probably cut all the way through that one for the rifle.
Yeah.
And that'll mean it's a nice easy cut all the way around it. And you can either glue it now, or we can leave you to add other items and then glue it later. Right, so we'll shift this out of the way. Oh, put the next
Put
one.
that down.
And then we can pick up, I've grabbed a 50mm and a 30mm medium sheet. So these are available on the website shadowfoam.com, and they're just 1 metre by 500mm. And then we've got our paper template, which is slightly smaller than these. And all we're doing is laying it over the top, and that's made that to perfection,
That's
that medium
perfect,
sheet.
isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah. So we'll take it hard over to one side, and we'll put it there. And then we can use a little bit of tape. Now, do we want tape on it? I think we need a little bit, but not a lot. Just to roughly hold it. Now, the reason why I'm saying not a lot is because we want to be able to potentially reuse this template. And also, when we cut around it, we're going to have to cut through the tape anyway.
Yeah.
So, we don't necessarily want lots of tape on here. But I do want to know that it's not moving. Something like that'll do. So then all we need then is one of our cutting kits. So a cutting kit has got everything you need to be able to cut the foam. So it's got a scalpel, 5 blades, it's got anti-cut gloves, it's got some glue to repair the foam if you make a mistake, and it's got some instructions. So once we've got our scalpel with the blade on and I've got a glove on, we just want to put a little bit of pressure on the template, and we're not cutting it all the way through at this point. We're just following that paper template, and you see when we get to a corner, we're just going wide of that corner. I'm not cutting right up on an angle, we're just going to go wide around the shape. We know, the only things that we know for a certainty are the straight edges, because we push the straight edge straight up, so we can cut the straight edges. Well, this is another example of where we're changing from the template, because the wheel well was a bit quirky to be able to get the paper down there, so we just left it, and I know that I can cut this wide and I'll leave it.
Yeah.
To move that one out of the way. So we can cut that wide, and then here we won't start cutting at this point because we'll leave all of that material in there and we'll come and trim that in afterwards.
Yeah.
So all we need to do then is cut this little space out, and we know that the straight edge is perfect, so we want that. If we leave everything slack, we're nowhere near, and it'll be really, really difficult. But the straight edges, we want to cut them exactly, and then it's only on the corners really you can go a little bit wider.
Yeah.
And we're not cutting all the way through, you're just basically making a pencil line that you can follow afterwards. So what we do here now is, so I've cut all the way around it, and you can see we've got the cut everywhere, and we don't want to cut our tablecloth. So we pick it up, and that way we can follow our cut and cut all the way through. But you obviously, I've got the anti-cut gloves on, so I'm not going to cut through to my fingers, but you do have to be very careful where your fingers are, and you can also do it over an edge like this. Okay, so that's the profile cut through, and the only thing we want to be aware of before we try this in the box is that making sure that we've either cut squarely through,
yeah,
or we've cut on an angle inwards, because as it's a square edged box, if the bottom is poking out more than the top, you're almost going to force a gap. You're going to make a gap there, and it's going to be obvious. Whereas, because of the nature of just the shadows, if you have that tucked in, even because it's a black surface, a shadow will hide any little gaps anyway. So all we wanted to be doing, so here's a nice example. See where I've come here and it's poking out. So if that was pushing against the wall of the case, it would be quite obvious.
You'd be able to see that gap around the edge.
So all you just do is just tuck that in basically. Just make sure that it's going in on itself. And now when you put that in the case, you won't even see any gap at all. Right, so we've done the 30mm, biggest insert we've ever made, that is by a margin. Now we're on to the 50mm sheet, so we've got a 50mm here, it's back on with the template, but we'll do this one a bit quicker. And there we go, as quick as that. We've now got a 50mm and a 30mm insert, and I think now it's time to test fit them in the case. We will have to cut a radius on the bottom of this 50mm, so we'll do that as well, and then we've got a trim out for the wheels. So let's test fit them in the case and we'll make those final little adjustments. Right, so that's it. What do you reckon?
It looks awesome. It's amazing. I can see what you mean about cutting in around the wheels, because that's just, it really is like you've poured some sort of something in here that's just made all of the ripples that were underneath, and yeah, it's all completely flush. And it looks
like a more usable space when you lose the wheel wells as well, doesn't it? Because it looks more symmetrical and it kind of more pleasing to the eye without that.
Yeah, you can get a real kind of understanding of the volume that's in there, and how much space that you have got to use. So what's next?
Right, well I'd say that's the hardest bit done, and it's certainly the least enjoyable bit. I quite like cutting foam, but doing inserts like this, I think it's an effective way of doing inserts, and it means you can get a quirky shaped insert out. But the reason why we sell a lot of these different tool cases, we have inserts that are ready made to go in them, and if you can, get a ready made insert, because that takes all of, if you've got a DeWalt T-Stack, and we sell the T-Stack insert, you buy it off the shelf, it goes straight in, it takes all of this step out. Right, so that is all of the most difficult part done. We've now got our two inserts, and this is the best bit. We can take them out of the case. We don't have to do any of that clumsy back and two in and out work, getting, trying to make sure these fit. We can just figure out the layout. So I know we're only cutting in the rifle here, aren't we? And then
I'm going to go home with everything that I've learned today and put in the rest.
Right, okay. So the rifle, is it this one? What was it again?
So this is the Scorpion Evo from CZ.
And whereabouts, so because you're putting magazines and other bits in here, aren't you? So where do you reckon you want to put it?
So the magazines should fit perfectly in here.
Yeah.
I'll be able to put at least 4, maybe 5 magazines there. I've got spaces for my batteries. I think that's probably
in the centre, just nearer the top.
Yeah, a good position. A good position there. Then there's room to put stuff around that I can certainly fit in.
Yeah, perfect. And then the straps on the back as well, which makes it easier too.
Yeah.
Nice one, right, yeah. Well, so this is actually quite easy then, because when you're doing a multiple layers like this, we've got a 30mm and a 50mm.
Yeah.
This is a big deep item, so we can cut all the way through the top layer. And then what we might do is we might take a layer out of the 50mm one below. Now, usually I would cut everything in and then glue the two together. But obviously, if you're taking this away, we'll probably just cut all the way through, set it up ready to be glued. Yeah. And then obviously it'll be up to you then to finish it off.
Finish it off.
Yeah, so I think we'll cut this, and then the rest of this video will be, you'll be out on your own.
Yeah.
To see how you get on. So, when it comes to cutting this into the foam, all we do is make sure we've got our anti-cut glove on. I've just got one of our scalpels from our cutting kits. Yeah. And firstly, we want to make sure it's square with the top, and we're happy with the position of it. So, the tricky thing with an item like this is there's not really many square points to measure, because you're dealing with not even really a fully square edge with not a square edge. So it's more important to have it, aesthetically square by eye. So, because it's your case, you need to tell me what you're happy with. You've got to live with it.
So you do have the Picatinny rail across the top. That's always going to be flat.
So that's your main area, isn't it?
So that is the straight edge. So I'd say I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that. I was hoping you would move it. I thought it was a bit off and then you tweaked it, and I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
So then all you do, and there's a bit of a top tip with this. So I don't ever do this really. I don't often do what I'm about to do. So it's a Jono's top tip for the video, this. I can tell this is like a powder coated metal, and I can imagine it would scratch if I run the scalpel along the side. And like I say, very, very seldom do I do this, but with yours, I'm going to put a bit of tape around this handle because it will pick up scratches. This.
Okay.
I can feel,
yeah, that makes sense.
Just by the feel of the metal, I can imagine it would pick up a scratch. So I've just put a little bit of clear plastic tape, nothing special, just around the handle there, just to make sure we're not, it's still really thin. The reason why we use these handles is because they're so thin and we can get them right up close to the body of the item. So then all we're doing is we're using it like a pencil. We're not looking to cut very deep, we're just looking to drag it along the side of the item. And we're not using a saw action if we can help it. We're just trying to drag it around. Now sometimes you might have to just saw around a corner, but if we can, the scalpel is sharp enough that we can just drag it through the foam. And like I say, we're not looking to go very deep here, we're just trying to get a nice clear outline. I would say it's worth cutting in another 10 mil.
Okay.
So this is, I would say, a challenge for you, if you're up for it.
Yeah,
So your
not?
first bit of foam cutting. So you want to make sure this doesn't move. You want to make sure you've got pressure on this.
Yeah.
And you just want to follow the outline around without moving it and without stretching it. Just follow this outline around all the way until you meet back. And you want to go down, you know, the depth of that, you know, good 10, 12 mil. So you want to go to at least that little nib there.
Okay.
And then we can peel back one layer and we'll get that teal contrast then. And then don't worry about getting it too smooth on the peel because we can use the foam spinner then to get it perfect.
Right, okay.
So I can hold this end as well to help it stop moving. Right, let's try this then, yeah? I think it just needed that extra bit of 10 mil just to sit a bit deeper in the foam.
Yeah.
Just a bit more snug and protected.
Yeah, that looks the bee's knees, that does, doesn't it?
Plenty of space for stuff here, isn't there?
Yeah.
So usually, what I'd do here, I'd probably cut the magazines in. Having not seen their magazines, I can't be 100%, but I'm pretty sure you could probably cut all the way through for the magazines.
Yeah. I think not going through underneath.
Yeah.
Just through this 30mm one, but yeah, it'll be perfect for the magazines.
So a little bit of a top tip. We'll send you home with some spray glue.
Okay.
But you want to save your offcuts, and I'll send you home with this too.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to gluing them, the easiest thing to do is to, I'll just put this out of the way, is to put your piece back in.
Okay.
And then what it does is it stops you overspraying. So when you want to spray this and glue it to this, you put all your offcuts, so when you cut your magazines in, save all the little offcuts, stick them all back in, and then you can spray glue the whole sheet and then pop those out. And it masks any overspray from spraying into this gap here.
Yep.
And it means you also get glue right up to the edge. So that's a top tip that we do say in a few of our videos, because it's so, before I was doing that, I'd take all these out, bin them all, and then I'd be here with the glue, like, you know, a bit of paper trying to get it all, and it'd take hours. As soon as you stick this in, you know, and the other thing is when you're trying to faff around with it, the glue's gone dry over this side, and it's tacky over this side, so that makes it really easy. And then all you have to do then is just, what I'll do is I'll fully cover that one, and then on the base layer, I'll just put a few tack spots of glue. So I'd spray a bit of glue down here, bit over there, not too much, just so then you've got two sides that are tacky.
Yeah.
Then press them together, probably put it like that, put a bit of weight on it, and then 10 minutes it'll be smashing, and then you just chuck it in the case and it'll be done. So I think that is all we're doing, isn't it?
I think it is, yeah. Now it's on to me to try and make it look as professional as you. So yeah,
I think you're not going to struggle. I think you've. What did you think about that process? I mean, cutting around the shapes is.
I think a lot of it is, in a weird way, a lot of it's common sense, isn't it? Like you say, with putting the paper down on the inside, doing it methodically so that you've got all of your corners covered, cutting bits out, trying it, putting it back down again, so that you've got that one sheet that you can just peel out to put straight onto here. Putting in the work at the beginning to make sure that's all spot
Making
on.
sure that insert is a really nice, good fit.
Yeah.
Like I say, the rest of it is breeze then, isn't it?
Yeah. And then just putting the rifle on the top of it and cutting out round it was kind of the easiest part for me to watch you do.
Yeah, and you help as well. I mean, the cutting through is always, like you say, it's total common sense cutting through. Cutting it and then peeling it is obviously more of what the product's about, and that's the tricky bit. So you've had your first go of it there, and that looks really good.
It's nice and satisfying.
Yeah. The smoothing spinner, I think, is one of the big satisfying elements I quite enjoy, getting these little details done. So yeah, I think that it's over to you now. So
right, sound. I'll get those in, get it home, finish them off, put the mags in, and then I'll get this up so that you can all see it.
Yeah. So the next stage of this video is Randy, and your continuation of this case.
Yeah.
I've got to say, that was a full day in there with the team. Probably wasn't a full day, but with the amount of filming that we've done, we've got a lot of stuff done, and it's been a really enjoyable experience. We've got this so it's 70% to where it needs to be. I'm going to take this home now, and we're going to continue to just finish this off to bring the Moorlander's War Chest to life. So keep watching, and you can see more from this, but for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, and stay EDC.